quick introduction. So I'm Anu Pate. I'm a product manager on the Microsoft Education product engineering team. I'm also a former educator. I like to cop to that. Now I toss the ball over to Emma Gray, my amazing co-facilitator. Emma, please introduce yourself.
Good morning or afternoon or evening, everybody, depending on where you're joining us from. My name is Emma Gray. I've had the absolute delight of working with Anu on Reading Coach over the last, Anu led the charge and I joined about a year ago on this project. And my team is in Vancouver, Canada, so I get to see the Reading Coach engineers whenever they come into the office, which is at least once a week. I'll pop it over to Teresa.
Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're tuning in from. My name is Teresa Castro. I am a technology teacher on special assignment from Hacienda La Puente Unified School District, which is about 20 minutes from Los Angeles. And like I said, I work in the tech world for pre-K all the way through 12 and to our adult school. But before I came up to the district, I taught all the grades in elementary. So my specialty are our littles.
How about Ricardo next?
Hello, Ricardo Recinos. I also work for Hacienda La Puente Unified School District as a Tech TOSA, teacher on special assignment. I see Giovanni from Montebello joining us today. He's also a Tech TOSA. And before I became a Tech TOSA, I was a high school teacher teaching Spanish for over 20 years.
Hey, thank you, Ricardo. Luisa, would you like to go next?
Hello, hi, I'm Luisa Galoso. I'm head of English and drama at a prep school over in the United Kingdom, supporting literacy, digital literacy, and especially reading coach and reading progress.
Thank you, Luisa, for being here. Carly.
Hello, I'm Carly Richards from the UK. I'm a primary school teacher and I'm the computer lead around the trust.
Yeah, thank you all for being here. These panelists were not mistakenly picked. Of course, they were not. But we really picked them because these were some of the earliest adopters of Reading Coach. We discovered them because they came to community and started telling us stories of how Reading Coach is making a difference for their students reading. But they also started telling us very interesting ways in which they were using it. Ways we hoped would emerge, but we didn't anticipate. And we learned so much from them. We figured it was time to bring them into this panel discussion to share all their tips, tricks, best practices with you. Almost all of them used Reading Coach last summer and saw some gains with their students. So we're really hoping that you will gain from them as well through this webinar. So to begin with, while many of you, we recognize several names. Some of you we've known from the very beginning, like Sandra. And Sandra, I'm so sorry to hear about your loss, but Sandra's been with us since, gosh, I want to say September of 2023 when she came to the private view and started giving me feedback. So she's been with us. So some of you are like family, so to speak, been with us on this Reading Coach journey. Thank you for being here. But some of you may not know about Reading Coach. So we'd love to be able to give you a quick introduction. I'm going to share my screen and play a quick video that we put together for that. So. Story that came out very recently. The Microsoft All Up magazine put out a story about the ways in which Reading Coach is making a difference in the lives of learners in classrooms and lives of educators, parents, and so on. It's at unlock.microsoft.com/reading-coach. We'll put a link to that in the chat in just a moment. But in that is the story of a happy classroom that has been transformed by Reading Coach. And in it is also the story of Ricardo and his daughter. And so I'm going to play out the story of Ricardo and his background and how Reading Coach was meaningful to him, how it's made a difference to his students. But we'll also turn over to Ricardo for him to tell us how Reading Coach has made a difference. So let's play that.
I still remember the first day I came to the US from El Salvador. I didn't understand a word. Reading felt like a locked door, and I didn't have the key for it. As a teacher, I've seen my students face the same struggles, kids feeling left behind, embarrassed to speak up, afraid to try. But with Reading Coach, everything changed. My students choose their stories. They take their time and feel safe to practice. I watch them light up as they unlock their potential, and it reminds me of how far we can go with the right tools. Reading isn't just about words, it's about confidence and belonging.
Oh my God. That's another one I can't get over because reading isn't just about words. It really, really isn't. Ricardo, tell us a little more in your own words about the ways in which Reading Coach has been meaningful to you.
You know, as I think about Reading Coach, not just meaningful as an educator, but also in my personal journey. As the story mentions, I came from El Salvador and didn't speak English. And because of it, I was given a placement test and I was sent to remedial classes. I got lost. So as I think about what can happen to our students, similar to what happened to me, and I see a tool like Reading Coach to be able to help them, to be able to support with their fluency journey. It's just game changing. Not only that, but personally, as I think about my daughter, when she was in kinder, we found out that she was being bullied. So we took her out of that school, put her in a different school, but she developed a very negative opinion of school, fell behind. Then the pandemic happened, fell a lot more behind, and we were trying to find ways to help her with her fluency because, as we all know, it is so crucial when it comes to impacting all subjects. So we, at the time, Reading Coach wasn't there yet. So I would literally go to Microsoft Word and create stories that she wanted to read because she didn't want to read the things that I was giving her. So I had to develop stories about this unicorn, and I had to like write it, and then we will use the powerful features of the immersive reader for her to read. After a while, I ran out of stories to tell. So we started using, then Reading Progress came out, and then finally Reading Coach, and the ability for her to take ownership of what she wants to read. Now she goes in there, she picks that unicorn, she puts them in every setting that she wants to think about, and it's been such a great tool to help her with her fluency. And now she's doing so well in school. Actually, we went to awards night yesterday, and she received an award, so we're very, very happy. And I really, really thank Reading Coach because of that.
Ricardo, do you have a story to tell? Do we get to hear her read it, or do you want to play us a little bit about
Yes,
how
I'm
she
trying.
made
Hopefully,
change?
I can share sound in here. Let me include sound, and I will. So this is actually Tony Ray T-Rex in her own words, and hopefully the sound plays.
Sparkles was a young adventurous unicorn who lived in the mystical forest. These are the stories I like to read. I didn't always like to read. I would add words, and it felt like I wasn't at the same level as my peers. My name is Chix, and I'm an 8th grader. My dad would write stories for me, and they were okay. It wasn't enjoyable until I found Reading Coach. It's fun to pick my own levels and choose my own characters, even unicorns, especially unicorns. Reading Coach is a really cool tool, and it makes stories just for me about things I like.
I am Ricardo. I am a teacher. I am T-Rex's dad. I see Reading Coach as a tool that just brings people together, in my opinion. At least it.
Oh, and it froze. I'm not sure why it froze. But I'll put the link, but it's just such a great story. And thank you, Microsoft Unlock, for letting us do this. I will put the link on the chat. I'm not sure why it froze.
Ricardo, that story always reminds me that when we were building Reading Coach, we said, well, reading is something that happens at school and it also happens at home because that's just the nature of practicing something like reading. Could we build a tool that did both? And there are a few tools on Microsoft definitely that do that, but we hadn't done one from the education team. And this was not easy. But we kept thinking that there's got to be a way to build something that people will use at school and then they can continue their journey at home. And then the whole circle is completed and students are held together by home, family, school, educator to really flower into the readers they're meant to be. And that story is such a testimony to something we were trying to do. And it just brings it to light. Thank you for sharing that. It sort of affirms the direction we decided to go with the product. All right, let's jump in. And actually, I'm wondering, Emma, would you like to take over at this point, lead us into a panel discussion? Because we'd love to hear from all the educators on the call.
Oh, you betcha. So before we jump into the panel, I'll start very quickly with an overview of the most recent set of features in Reading Coach. We were actually aiming to get these out in late June. And what ended up happening is that some opportunities came up. We realized that the Microsoft Innovative Educator Expert Program was going to include Reading Coach in its mandatory training for applicants. And because of that, it made sense for us to try to make all of the new things ready as soon as possible. The other thing, of course, is summer reading. So making sure that folks are able to use these features heading into the summertime. And these features all live under an umbrella that on our team we've been calling guided practice. So I'll be very quick about this. You might hear reference to this feature on the panel, which is why I'll take us through it really quickly in advance. So the first thing that happened, I mean, gosh, it must have been not even a week after Reading Coach came up. The first message came in like, hey, I really wish that I could see how my learners are reading. I wish I could track their progress. And then a couple of months went by and more messages came in. Oh, I'm having my students take screenshots of how they're doing in Reading Coach and emailing it to me. And wouldn't it be nice if I could share custom passages? And that's what guided practice allows us to do. So it's very simple. On the educator side, we have new experiences in Reading Coach where you can share passages with learners either from the ReadWorks library, which we're all familiar with now, or pasting in your own passage or generating it yourself with Copilot. We heard from people on Tuesday, they've been doing that. You can also set open reading goals, like time goals, that allow your learners to track progress towards specific time practice milestones. It's easy to differentiate these practices because they're shared with join codes, think like your Kahoots or your Quizlets, which makes it easier as well to ensure that every learner has the passages that you think would best support them. When it comes to completing practice on the learner side, they can do it on the web app, they can do it on Windows, as usual. And then on the educator side, you have an opportunity to monitor their progress over time. So have they met the goals that you've set? Who needs the most support? Just some lightweight data to help you curate what happens next when it comes to reading practice. And then, of course, we updated the Microsoft Learn course, and this is a PowerPoint Live. So those of you on the call can click the Here button to take the Microsoft Learn course with the new guided practice unit in it. Very excited to hear what you all think. And with that, our wonderful panelists, I think it's time for us to turn over the mic primarily to you. So we've gotten a brief introduction from folks, but what I would love, and I think you're right, there's a typo in the slide, so I'm going to stop sharing it, is for everyone to go around, remind us who you are, and tell us about your favorite Reading Coach moment. And we'll start in reverse order from Tuesday. So Carly, would you like to kick us off?
Hello, yes. So last year I was introduced to Reading Coach through the Summer Reading Challenge and decided to do this with just a small group of children in our school. So I used it as an intervention through assignments. So I had a little bit of knowledge, but the Summer Reading Challenge sent me to the Reading Coach. And in year 3, where I was currently teaching, and year 2, we decided to use these 2 cohorts to get them using the Reading Coach over the summer. So we did a little bit of an assembly, and I gave the bingo cards to parents and just asked the children to go away and explore. And they came back buzzing about the emojis that they unlocked, and it was a game, and parents were saying how fun it had made reading for the children. So this year we've continued with it, and I've embedded it into my curriculum. So the children are going up twice a week using Reading Coach, and they were just using the AI feature, but now there's a new feature. So I have been trialing and setting my guided reading for the week on Reading Coach. So the children will hear the text from me and I'll go through all of the vocabulary. They will then go to the computer suite and reread the text themselves through Reading Coach, which they are absolutely loving. And then we'll come back and we'll do the work activity in our books. But we this week, just today, have used Microsoft Forms through AI to help us generate some questions, and they've done a form based on that. But the children are constantly asking to go use Reading Coach. So it's kind of becoming a daily activity. We always go up 4 days a week, but they want to go up more, and they're asking for it as a reward as well. And outside of school, some of the children are logging on, and we're going to get the whole school this year, and hopefully the other 19 schools in our trust, to join on this reading challenge, because that's where it all started, was the summer reading challenge. And it's just been a snowball effect since then, because it's so easy. As teachers, we don't have to set anything up. Parents don't have to be there to support unless they want to. And it's just giving that independence back to the children and them associating themselves as readers. So it has been amazing from my point of view.
I love that, Carly. And that's our first example of guided practice in the classroom, because it only turned on for everybody last week. So thank you for sharing that. We're all learning. We're going to keep updating these features as people bring their stories back to us. Next, if we are continuing, reverse order from last week, Teresa, can you share your favorite reading coach moment?
So we have a lot to share about Reading Coach, but if you're talking about my favorite moment or my favorite memory with using Reading Coach, Ricardo and I actually share the favorite moment, but I'm not going to steal it from him because I know which one he wants to talk about. But I am going to talk about my second favorite moment, and Ricardo's going to talk about our first favorite moment. But we were very fortunate to be part of the Reading Coach pilot before it even came out. And so my favorite memory is our kids were actually featured on a television station here for using Reading Coach, using AI for good. And I think Ricardo already, he's fast. He already put it in the chat for you if you want to take a look at that. And I remember standing outside of the room waiting for the student interviews, and they were all so nervous, and they were gathered in a circle talking about something, and they were laughing and giggling, and they were so excited, and it looked like they were talking about like the latest video game that they've seen, but they weren't. They were talking about Reading Coach. They were talking about how over winter break, of all the characters they unlocked, about the types of stories that the AI made, and they were saying, oh, I'm going to try making a story like that next time. And so they were so excited talking about this new tool. I kind of feel like we were tricking them. We were using gamification, we were tricking them to read more, which is what we want, right? Because it's all about fluency over complex, not fluency, what is it? Frequency over complexity, right? We just want our students to read more frequently. And like even Ricardo's story, when he was talking about when it's high interest and when it's what they can choose, they get excited to read about it. So as part of that article or part of that show, we actually had parents input as well too. So it was really interesting to hear on the parents' end as well. Have they seen a change in their students and how excited they were to watch their students be excited about reading? Something that it was like pulling teeth. I think that was the quote that the parents said. It was like pulling teeth every day, getting my student to read. But now this is just a way for them to really be excited about their reading. And so our parents too have been using it themselves as well. And I think Ricardo will probably touch on that later as he talks about our favorite moment. But so many things we want to say about Reading Coach, but that is my favorite memory of Reading Coach.
I love that. We'll keep going. Ricardo, what is your favorite Reading Coach moment?
There are so many, but I think one of the ones that really hits my heart, being an ESL student, English language learner, is we have been going to all of these elementaries, showing Reading Coach, and our students were using them and loving it. And we get a call from a middle school, saying, you have a tool for us to help our students with fluency. And we said, well, all their kids, let's go try it, and hopefully it works for them. So we go in there and we set up Reading Coach for our students, and obviously it was a hit. But there was one student that the teacher was talking to us that she had just came from China and didn't speak the language, and she will never engage. And she just was in the corner, right? And we talk about Reading Coach being about confidence and belonging, right? And we said, well, let's try this in her language. And we went in there, and thank you for all the languages that you guys have added to Reading Coach. So we actually put it in there in her language. And all of a sudden, when she saw her language and she saw these students, she saw that she could do the same thing that other students were doing, her face just lit up and she smiled. And we have a picture of her smiling when that happened. And every time I think about it, it just brings just happiness to my heart. So that's the story that I can remember. The fact that we are using Reading Coach with the older kids too, and they are loving it too.
You're addressing a common misconception, Ricardo, which is that while Reading Coach started just being supported in US English, it now supports over 80 different languages and dialects in different contexts. That especially has been nice for me because my Canadian accent would always end up flagging mispronunciations in American English. And now I can select English Canada, and when I try Reading Coach, I get better scores now. Now, Louisa, where did Louisa go?
Hello, hi.
Hello. I can't see you, Louisa. Is it because your camera's off? Oh, no, you're there. I'll try to spotlight you better. We'll get you where you need to go. Okay, we're back. I think all is well. Can everyone else see Louisa? She's
Not
on the
on my
second
first
page.
screen. She's on the second page, I know.
We gotta promote Louisa. Okay, we'll spotlight Louisa for everyone for your answer. There you go.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So our spotlight moment really for Reading Coach has come from having developed reading progress with Reading Coach within our curriculum as educators. So we have that as part of assignments and part of homework. But what we anticipated through the summer reading quest last year with Reading Coach was the fact of we wanted the children to be empowered by their own reading, by their own choices, by their own independent fun in a way, and actually what reading meant to them. So last year, within the summer reading quest, we basically allowed the children to explore. And this is where really we love for the children to actually explore themselves and then come back to us as educators and share their finds, share their excitement. And then that's where we're able then to go, okay, you found that really exciting. Let's think about how we can measure that progress and think about how we can really fulfill their engagement with the reading side of it. So not only do we have the reading progress and the reading coach set by educators, on the flip side, our pupils are actually using Reading Coach for their own fun reading fluency. We have within the curriculum, we have a reading session in the afternoons, and that's linked to one session a week, linked to the Reading Coach AI sessions, where they're able to just read without any inhibitions. They're able to explore the accessibility tools. They're able to develop their own understanding, their own excitement of stories and characters and discussions. It's not a silent reading session. We want the bubble and the noise to come and the discussions to come with them discussing their own story choices and their creativity. And with those discussions, we've actually found that they're able to talk more about stories and what writing means to them. So for us, Reading Coach has actually really supported their foundations of what stories and the magic comes with it, and who are the characters and what are the plots, what's the storyline, in order for them to really feel that buzz about, well, hang on a second, I can make a story, but I can also write that story as well, and then I can read my own story. So the magic of Reading Coach really does support so many wonderful literacy adaptive skills for so many wonderful children who are able to really explore what they want reading to be and how they want reading to feel.
I'll never forget coming into your classroom when we came to visit in the UK in January, Louisa, and we were walking around, and there was the one station where the learners were all sitting at a table group, and they were jumping up and down whenever they unlocked a new character, and someone was like, "You got the wolf! I haven't gotten the wolf yet." And then we went to the next table group, and someone had written their story by hand and was typing it into Reading Coach so they could read it out loud to proofread it. And so this is just another example of how we build something with one idea in mind for how someone might use it, and then you all run with it. And you give us so many more ideas and you get creative. I love it so much. We'll move on to another question about summer reading specifically. I think maybe our Tectosas can tag team this one. Would you be willing to tell us about your plan? And you can share your screens if you'd like for summer reading this summer.
Sure. Oh, there it is. We know Carly and Louisa have already gone through using a reading coach with their families over the summer, so we're excited to hear about that. But we are just starting on this journey, though our families have been using it for a while. This is our first time we're going to officially make it part of our summer reading campaign. So we have always had a reading summer campaign. We have something called Sora, where it's just like a digital library where students can go in and listen to audiobooks or read books. And so now we've decided to use that hand in hand along with Reading Coach. So a lot of the challenges in here, they're able to use Sora to listen and read, and they can use Reading Coach to practice their fluency. What's really fun is that they all tie in together. So for example, we have a week of the genre challenge. What else do we have in here, Ricardo? So it's fun. They could choose different genres. It's kind of very similar. Here's the bingo that we added that we shared earlier. And let's continue. What else? So here's the bingo from Sora as well. So very similar. Our teachers have a choice of what to use, and so do our parents. Book flicks is really fun. So they get to choose the book that was made into a movie. They read about that. They could also do compare contrast. There's so many activities. This is a really long bookshelfie. We'll stop at this one or the next one. Bookshelfie, where they get to write the names of the books that they read or maybe the passages. And so he's just going to keep clicking, and I'm not going to read them all, but this is a very long and useful resource for our parents, because our students know how to use Reading Coach. You don't need to show them how to do it. So as they go home for the summer, our school ends in 1 week, by the way. So as they go home for the summer, our parents know what to do. They can give them the tools that they need. The students already know how to use this. And we also have a summer program for our elementary students. And so in the summer program, we're also going to encourage the teachers to be using these in their classroom as well, and also use guided practice, since they're going to have the kids with them in the classroom. So we're really excited to launch that this coming summer, which will be really soon, in about a week. So that's what our district is going to be doing, using Reading Coach this summer.
I'm so excited to see how it goes. You can follow these two on social media. I don't know if you want to drop your handles into the chat, but I always find myself learning from the ways that you're sharing new techniques and new tools. We rotate around. Carly, you've told the story of what happened last summer. Can you share how it's going to be different this summer, how you'll take those learnings and grow it even bigger?
Yeah, so as I mentioned previously, we only did 2 of our year groups last summer, and because of the such positive impact it has had, even coming from parents, we've decided that we're going to do it full school here, and I'm in a trust with 19 other schools. So I'm going to be using some of the Microsoft, the bingo advertisement, and I'm going to create my own like little leaflet to go out to parents and just give them all the information of where they can go if they want any more information about Reading Coach, but to upskill the children next term of using it, seeing what it's like, and getting that engagement straight away. So we'll start with a whole school assembly, and it might be streamed out to the other schools, or I might do a recording so the other schools in the trust can also follow that recording, and then send out all the documents with the children after they have been in the computer suite and had a go, so they can go home and share the enthusiasm with their parents. And then when they come back after summer, we are going to give out new rewards. And I have kind of magpied an idea from Louisa, which I'm not going to talk about because I'm sure she's going to talk about it. But Louisa came up with an amazing suggestion on Tuesday, and I had to scribble it down. So I'll let Louisa talk about what she's currently doing, and you might hear the thing I had decided to magpie. And my head teacher, when I mentioned it to her after this meeting, was like, "Oh my goodness, that's such an amazing idea." So she's on it to look for some badges or something. But I will hopefully, if it's okay, pass on to Louisa so she can share what an amazing suggestion she gave, and we are magpieing it. So thank you, Louisa, and I'll pass over to you.
Tell us all about it.
Thank you. And just to reiterate, this is why we come on to these community calls. You know, we share so much information, and even from us who are using the tool all the time, actually just being inspired by just listening to other people, and just their inspiration has just been fabulous. So currently what we have in our school is we have year 6 leaders, so they all have a leadership role, and that will be across all of the curriculum. So there might be science leaders, there might be DT leaders, digital leaders, and so obviously we do have literacy leaders and reading leaders. So for us to be able to develop that idea across the whole school, because actually it's not just our top students, it's not just our year 6 leaders who are leading, even though they do a brilliant job at actually teaching and inspiring all of our year groups about Reading Coach. And this is where, if you want to really fulfill what Reading Coach is about, is basically get your children to peer teach the other children about Reading Coach, because it really is that simple and fun and effective. And if you have children teaching children about it, that's where they engage with the knowledge. So this year, over the summer reading, we will inspire the reading quest again, the reading challenges, through the wonderful ideas of the reading bingo, possibly linking to themed weeks with the reading. But actually, when children come back to the new academic year, what we're able to do is actually monitor with insights from the new features of who's actually been engaged with their reading, who's really delved deeper into wanting to achieve those reading goals and reading streaks that Reading Coach offers. And actually what children want to do is have those rewards. They want to be recognised for their work and be able to inspire others through what they've been able to do. So what we are anticipating to do is to introduce Reading Coach AI ambassadors throughout our school, throughout the year groups and the classes, and not just have our year 6 leaders discussing and promoting. We're actually going to have all of our children have that inspiration from what Reading Coach can do, and really fulfill the love of what reading is about. Inspiring reading, inspiring stories, inspiring writing, and our literacy, critical thinking skills across the whole school. Every single pupil can do it. They can discuss, they can read, they can have fun, and they are our Reading Coach AI ambassadors.
I love that so much. And I think the Reading Coach ambassadors very well might spread beyond your school, it sounds like, Carly. I love that. We've seen some reactions from the chat. Maybe we'll get some on our side of the world as well. Anu, you had a story about peer teaching when we first showed Reading Coach at our very first conference. I was wondering whether you wanted to tell us that story.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. This was like Reading Coach got announced in January of 2024. I keep forgetting the date sometimes. It's like, feels like we've been on this for a while. And Emma and I was at the BEC conference where it got announced and launched. And at the BEC conference, on the very last day, students come to the conference and they come and check out the technology tools along with their educators. And I kept saying, Emma, here's the real test. Here's the real test. Here's the moment we've been waiting for. Will they like it enough? And we had a whole swarm of students walk up to the Reading Coach booth, and we normally demo our products. We're like, here's what it does, and here's what it does, and then we have a conversation. And I said, here's Reading Coach. And they're like, Reading Coach, what does it do? I said, you can create your own stories. And these were probably like, I want to say 8, 9, 10, 11-year-olds. And they were like, I can create my own stories. I'm like, yeah, here, click, create a story. And that's it. They literally all crowded in. I moved to the back and they leaned in. And I remember them debating this. Well, why would you choose a cat? I like dogs. I'm a dog person. And on and on and on they went. And then when they get to the end of the first chapter, they went, well, no, we can't have Max go and do that thing. And what was interesting was that, of course, they took over, which is the purpose of this product. You get so lost in it, you don't need to demo it. It's so easy to use. But then it's also this, what was interesting about the peer moment was they were thinking critically the way one hopes readers will when they're reading something. They were like, well, if Max does that, imagine if that would happen. Now, would we want that? Now, that's exactly the kind of sort of anticipation and forecasting that you want a reader to do. And they were like back and forth and back and forth. And they were like, well, are we going to vote? Or are we going to decide based on what we think is going to happen in the story. And on they went. Their teachers, Mike Tilson took a picture of me because I was like way in the back because these kids are just taking over the whole booth. Reading Coach doesn't need to be demoed. It's super easy to use. We hear this all the time. But also it was powerful to see how the students interact with each other, their peer interaction, how they lean into the experience. So I'll never forget that story. Yeah, thanks for the chance to share it, Emma.
Of course. I'll never forget something else they did was a round robin because we only had one computer and it was logged in with a test account. So a kid would read a chapter and then choose what adventure they were going to send their friend on next chapter and then rotate, and then the friend read the next chapter and then they would choose what happened, then they'd pull their friend over and go, now you need to figure out what happens here. And so they had this, again, things that we never thought of, but it was all happening at once. It was wonderful. I'm seeing a question from the chat, and this is something that I should note. If any of you in the audience have questions for our panelists, if you wanted to drop them in the chat, we can try to get to them. But first, Tara has a question about what students need at home to make the microphone work on different types of technology. Now, I can try to answer that, Tara. Typically, Tara, you'd have to let me know. It's the microphone on the device. It will request access. And so if you're on an iPad, for example, it will say share access to microphone or something like that. And that should work just fine. You'll find in the busiest classrooms, sometimes headsets become helpful so that we can address background noise that way. But typically, if you're doing it in the browser on a device that isn't a computer, then you're going to find that it will request access. You might need to go into settings to make sure that that's something that's enabled. But we can help you if you end up getting stuck on that. But it does bring up an interesting topic for me, which is accessibility, because some learners might prefer to have their microphone so that they can hear when they click on the words what the words sound like in advance. Exactly, Carly, you're talking about headsets there. Yeah, if you're in a quiet space at home, if home has a quiet space, that becomes something that you can do. But I'm curious for each of you whether you can share a bit about how Reading Coach supports learners with diverse learning needs, whether they're language learners or whether they're dyslexic or whether they just prefer to customize their reading surface in specific ways. I'm curious, and maybe we can start with Ricardo if you're interested in how Reading Coach supports customization for learners with diverse needs.
Yes, I think our students, being exposed to immersive reader way before it was in Reading Coach, when Reading Coach came out, they know how to use that tool. They've been empowered to use it without any teacher support. So the ability for them to be able to hear those words so they can pronounce them correctly, right? They can also see them highlighted in context as they're reading. Repetition and scaffolding are key for fluency, so students can practice those new words at the end, the ones that they're having trouble with, basically. So that helps them again. And again, the picture dictionary, right? Gradually it helps them understand and increase understanding of those words. So that's huge for us.
That's awesome. Carly, we go to you next around accessible features. I think you mentioned some on Tuesday.
Yes, so we've been using the background color change with some of our dyslexic children. So in class, we use Class Notebook and OneNote, and we always have the background buff to meet everyone's needs. However, there's certain children in my classroom who have blue overlays or pink overlays, and on Reading Coach that they now know where to go to change the background color, which is amazing. And all the other children now want to change their background color too, which I have allowed because it makes the children who need it not feel singled out or look different. But I just encourage them to make sure they have the correct background color, and we'll check that because they do try and change it. But the others also talk about how they do find the text easier to read when it's not on white. So it's opening that conversation up as well. And there's other features, but I'll let the others share those as well, because there's some amazing features through Reading Coach with accessibility.
Thank you, Carly. Louisa or Teresa, I've done it again, it rhymes. Do either of you have examples you would share of Reading Coach for learners with various needs?
Yeah, just to say, really allow the children to explore those accessibility features and tools, because how we explain and how we share Reading Coach is because it is for them. This Reading Coach is for their own inspiration and ability. And actually, by allowing the children to feel free with exploring different tools, to excite them, to interest them, to support them, whether they require the necessary elements or whether they're just explorative with their reading, is really important. So the line focus is especially important, just to actually channel their focus on the screen or on the line. And actually, it's more a case of them feeling that they're more intimate within their reading, that they actually can really think about the language that's being used, but also at the same time, really have a look at the different adjectives, the verbs, and all of those, to really delve deeper into the text, especially if you are teaching further and higher ability pupils as well. You can really delve into the language, especially with guided reading too. So you're supporting everyone, but also allowing the children to be very adaptive and in control and feeling empowered for their own specific requirements too.
I love that. Teresa, thoughts?
These are all great things, and I'm trying to think of anything else that I might have missed, but I think I'm just gonna pretty much repeat what everyone has said. And I think really for us, our goal for our students is we want them to be advocates for themselves, and we want to make sure that they have tools to help them with whatever they need. So it could be these tools that we're talking about, the line focus, the changing the colors, the choosing different fonts. And Ricardo and he always makes fun of me because there's certain colors I cannot read off of. And I know if that is me, that's some students too. And I'm not trying to be fancy and choose certain colors, but I really have difficulty reading certain colors. And so for us giving them the control to do that for themselves, that's a really big deal. And I know I'm mainly talking about immersive reader, but they've been using that across the board in so many areas. And it's been so great to see the students be able to use this not only in our class, but beyond us. So when they leave us, they can use this next year. They can use it in their real lives, and they can show their families how to use it, because we have a very diverse population where even our parents can benefit from these tools. So I think on top of accessibility, language, just showing our students how to use them so that they're not an extra thing that the teacher has to worry about. This is not another thing on your plate that you have to show the kids how to do every day. You give them the tools, show them how to use it, and then they're off on their own, and they're being able to empower themselves to get the tools they need to deal with whatever curriculum or material that you need to present to them. So it's just so powerful, and we're so happy that it appears inside of Reading Coach and all over, and we're thankful for that.
You're sparing questions in the chat. Sandra, whenever a story opens in Reading Coach, it already is immersive reader. So you'll see settings in the top right corner when you open up a new story, and that allows you to do all of the customization. And it is amazing because it is sort of tucked up in the corner there, how often people just use it with its default settings, but all of that's been in there from day one. So if you have any issues finding it, feel free to let us know. We have a question from Tara in the chat, and I expect our educators could probably address it better than I could. How are students starting that process to log into Reading Coach? Do they need their individual emails and Microsoft accounts? This is someone in the very first steps trying to support lower readers this summer. 5 days left to try to prep a parent note and send this home for fun practice.
So I can answer from our district. We use a tool called ClassLink Launchpad. So we actually have set up a single sign-on where our little ones use a QR code to get into our ClassLink, and then just click the button for Reading Coach and automatically logs them in. So they're using our district account, but we all know that this is free. So any email account that is a Microsoft account is going to work. So we made it as simple as possible for our teachers and our students to just click single sign-on.
Exactly. So there are tools that can make it easier with single sign-on, like Ricardo mentioned. Your Microsoft School email will work, and you can also use a personal Microsoft account. So if you want to guide learner practice, you need that school account, because then you have the teacher role and the student role, and we do a safety check to make sure that they're in the same school. But if this is just a note to parents, this tool exists, parents can create accounts, learners can too, with personal Microsoft accounts if you don't have those fully spun up in your district. So what we're finding, sometimes even in districts that aren't Microsoft schools, they're using it with personal accounts and doing it that way. And it's on the
If I
wall.
can,
Go for it.
if I can add to that. So when we say school account, your school has probably got, if it's got, and hopefully it does, M365. So if you're using Word, PowerPoint, all of those, you've got M365, and it's Reading Coach is available in all the licenses of M365 for a school. So the same login that a student would use to access a Word or PowerPoint is their login to use Reading Coach. And I'm going to quickly just share my screen. Emma, is that okay? Can I just quickly zip through this?
Go for it.
All right, thank you, Emma. So you would go to coach.microsoft.com, which is where Reading Coach is. And when you click this Get Started button, and I'm going to end up in the app because I'm already logged in. But when you click that Get Started button, you can put in one of two things. You can put in your Microsoft M365 school account that you have, and it's 100% free, and you just log in with that as a student and you go in and use it. Or if you don't have one of those and you're trying to situate this for home practice, they can put in a Microsoft personal account. Now you go, what in the world is a Microsoft personal account again? Because not many people know about it sometimes, though everybody in the world, lots of people use it. It is basically Microsoft's equivalent of what would be Gmail or whatever. And so it could end in .outlook, .xbox, .live. You may have one of these. Like my Gmail account is my Microsoft personal account. And I literally type it in, which is what I used. And I'm in Reading Coach now. I just simply did that. But if you don't have one, when you click Get Started, it is going to actually let you create one right there. You create one and you can get into the app. You don't have to go anywhere else, do anything else with it. So thank you for letting me share that.
I will confirm as well that my Microsoft personal account is a Gmail that I already had set up. So you can create a Microsoft personal account with any existing email, I believe.
Yeah.
Which makes it nice and easy for everybody. All right. And with that, I think my hope was to do a lightning round. If you were to give one tip to a teacher on this call, and this will be how we wrap up our panel, one tip, one thing that you want them to take away from this about Reading Coach, what would it be? Anyone can jump in first.
I would say it's fun and engaging. And from a teacher perspective, there's not a lot you have to do to get it set up. So it's not time consuming from a teacher point of view, but for the kids, what they get out of it is worth every second.
Amazing.
I'm going to piggyback off of that. And my tip is just do it. If you're afraid to do it, just do it. If you are afraid that maybe you're not familiar with the platform, get your students in there. They will figure it out. And so we like to take them step by step, which is great. And you can totally do that as well. But if you're apprehensive and you're like, I'm going to wait till I master it before I bring it to my kids, don't wait. Just bring it to them. They're going to know how to do it. And they're probably going to teach you how to do it. So go for it. That's my tip.
I was going to say just keep it for what it was intended to be, a fun way to improve fluency. Don't make it a homework. Don't make it something that they have to do all the time. Just let them have fun with it. Let them just enjoy it. It's such a great tool. We have reading progress for all the other stuff.
I agree with everybody. Just let the children run with it. Let them roll, let them explore, let them find out, let them tell you what Reading Coach is about. Let them find those avatars. Let them find the different ways that they can explore. Let them talk about the characters that they unlock. Just let them do it. You'll be amazed.
Thank you, everyone, not only for being here as part of the panel. I know Anu will wrap us up in terms of content for the webinar, but also for all of you just being here along for the ride. I don't think Reading Coach would exist the way it does today without the early feedback and without the ongoing feedback from the educators and the learners that make the app real. So I'll pass it off to Anu, but just thank you so much again, everybody. It always makes my day to get to talk to our Reading Coach educators.
Thank you so much. And thank you, Emma. Thank you to our panelists. Thank you for the questions from the audience. We're going to be in the home stretch. I'm going to help wrap it up here. We have a few different announcements. We have materials we've shared with you in the chat, but I'm going to round this out with a few different things. So here we go. We have some opportunities actually coming up this summer for you as well. So For those of you who are just getting started on Reading Coach, and I love, Tara, that you're going to do this in the next 5 days, we promise it's about as easy as like a half hour of your time with the students and they'll get rolling. Go to coach.microsoft.com, click on that Get Started button, log in with an existing school account, or if all you have is a Gmail, ask them to create a new Microsoft personal account using their Gmail address, and they will be in the product in no time. So you might have to help them a little bit as they do that login process. They're really little, but you will be in there in no time. Now, we have a host of materials available to you, many that have been shared in the chat already. I'm going to round out the list with, here's the full list of materials for you to go find. So in your chat now coming is the list of materials that we've been sharing. So there they are. We're going to take 2 or 3 minutes. I would love for you all to at least go to the Reading Coach survey. We're doing a Reading Coach survey because Reading Coach is right at that time in its journey as a product where what we do next with it and how we develop it will really depend on what you tell us. It's been out there. People love it, but there's some things they love more than other things. And we absolutely want to hear from you. So I would love for you all to please take the Reading Coach survey. I don't know if you have the minutes to do it right now, but at least navigate to it, have it in your tab so you can complete it later. So let me make sure I fix the link. And there it is. Yeah, please complete the Reading Coach survey. When you
We
get a
will be
chance.
reading it. I guess that's the one thing I would add is everything that you answer in the Reading Coach survey goes straight to Anu and I and straight to the rest of the Reading Coach team. We take it to heart. So be honest, be creative, inspire us to do more.
Exactly. Thanks, Emma. And then there's an opportunity coming up this summer. Stanford is partnering with us to do a study on the use of Reading Coach and its efficacy. So they're going to try to do some quantitative and qualitative analysis. They're looking for folks to participate in that study. And the way you would do that is simply, go to that link, and I'll put the link in the chat. Give me 1 second. And participate in it. What it'll do for your readers is they'll be able to do all the reading through the summer. They'll go into the Stanford system. They'll get some feedback on how they're doing with their study, with their progress. So go ahead and have them enroll in it. It's like a freebie that you get while you're using Reading Coach. Your student is also getting studied and their efficacy and their progress is being understood. So please participate in that. We've done the educator webinar today. We have a parent guardian webinar coming up, and there's on June 3rd and June 5th. We're opening this up to the larger Microsoft family and the world. So I will put 2 QR codes in the chat. Please share them when you share Reading Coach with your parents. Share the webinars as well with them so they may join, and we'll piggyback off of this webinar and have one that is bespoke for them as well. We'll be sharing some of the same material, but we'll be speaking to parents and what it's like to do Reading Coach reading at home. So, yes, that's everything I think for today. Thank you all so much for joining, for taking time out of your precious day. And as you drumbeat over to summer, I remember being a teacher, it's a really busy time. Hopefully this has been a good use of your time. We appreciate it, and stay connected with us in community. Thank you so much to our panelists and to Emma. Thank you all.
Thank you, everybody. Stay in touch. And we'll see you all soon.
See you all soon. Let's do this.